Good morning, and thank you for attending this webinar about the Aquafadas digital publishing plugin for InDesign. In this webinar, we will go through the really basics of using the plugin, from installing it to really doing the first steps with it. And we really hope that we will sort of lay the foundations for you to then explore further and do great stuff with it. So the plugin you can get from the avpublishing.com website. Simply go there, and maybe I'll show that again. When you log in, you have to create an account. It's free, and if you go to the home page, you'll have a download section here at the bottom left. Click on it, on the arrow, and you will find a list of authoring tools, test tools, application tools that you can download from for free from the plugin, from the website. Sorry, and here you have the plugin for InDesign. So just hit the download button, and it downloads an installer that you can just launch and install the plugin. You see there is also an RSS feed here. You might want to subscribe to it because it will give you the latest news about the plugin, all the new versions, what they contain, etc. So it's a good way to stay up to date with it. So after installing it, when you launch InDesign, you will find two new extensions under this menu. One which is called AV Interactivity, and one which is called AV Project Manager. So we'll start by looking into the project manager, which is the first component, and this is really the central hub for your digital publishing work, because this is where you will find all your projects. And you see your projects are listed on the left, and once you click on them, you can see what they contain. You might have some content here. For example, I have a project that contains 2 articles. Each of them is an InDesign document, and so you can easily access your projects, open the files, and do all the actions that are related to projects, such as, of course, generating the project into a digital publishing file that you can later view on your iPad. Or sending directly the project to the iPad, but you can also import, export project. You see from those buttons at the bottom here. For example, if you want to move a project from one computer to another one, you might want to use the import and export functionalities, because it will make sure everything that belongs to the project gets transferred properly. So the first thing we will do, of course, is create a new project, and for this demo, I will probably concentrate on doing a magazine type project. And as you can see, we support 2 types of digital publishing documents. One which we call AV Mag, which is really suited for a magazine or for any type of document that you really will lay out for the tablet. Meaning by that you will work on pages that have the aspect ratio and the size of the tablet. You won't be able to zoom inside the document while you're running on the tablet. So you've seen probably a lot of magazines that use this type of approach, where you go from page to page, but there's no zooming going on. You can, of course, click and tap on pictures to bring them to full screen and maybe zoom in the pictures, but you don't really zoom in the pages. The other variation is called AV Doc or AV PDF, and this is where you actually really work with pre-existing documents that can have any size, any density of characters on the pages, and this is where you will be able to attach functionality such as guided reading, things like that. We have some good examples of applications that use that functionality with really great success, and at the end of the webinar, we will put it on the internet. We'll put also some links of applications that use that functionality. we will create a document of type magazine, and I will call it motion composer sheet. So the exercise here is I will create a document, several pages document about a software product, and I will include some interactivity in it. So this document I will create in two orientations. You can see that you can choose here whether you want just one or two orientations, and we will create that in two orientations just to show how to manipulate them, and then we will create it for the iPad. You can create your document for a number of devices here. You just can move around and even add devices if they don't exist. So by specifying their width, their height, resolution. So here is my new project, Motion Composer Sheet, and it has no content at the moment. So I will start by adding here a first article by hitting the new button. As you can see, it creates an article named Untitled, and I have two previews here, one for the horizontal, one for the vertical. Some previews don't get generated immediately, they might be generated later, but you'll see later on that I will get those two images. And so this is my first article. I can add any number of articles in this document by clicking the new button. I can also add articles using a template and provide certain templates that maybe will inspire you for at least seeing how some of these templates use interactivity. But here I'm really working with from white pages. And you can also add pages to the article, either by clicking on the plus button here, or by more standardly going into the InDesign document and adding pages. Okay, I have added 3 pages. When I save my document, my project gets updated, and I can see my 3 pages. They're all empty at the moment. Okay, so I will now go into my document. It's just okay. So I have my 3 pages, and I will now move to the second palette, which is the Interactivity Palette. And this Interactivity Palette will be where I will actually attach interactivity to the various elements that I lay out on my page. But it's also a palette that I can use at any time to switch between orientations. As you can see at the bottom here, there is a little switch. Currently I'm viewing the horizontal. I can switch to vertical, and I'm viewing the vertical version of my document. So dual orientation authoring in InDesign with this plugin works by inside the same document. You don't have to create several documents to handle dual orientation. Okay, so the first thing I will do is I will create a sort of a landing page for my document, and I have prepared okay. So I have some content here, which I will use to create some sort of background, right? So remember I'm editing in the horizontal. If I go to vertical, I can see that the geometry here of my of the image I dropped is incorrect. So I can actually change that. And adjust it. Inside that document, while maintaining what I have done in the other orientation. Let's just quickly add some text here. So I will change the font with some white color and set the size to 19. So here's my title. I can move it around in this orientation, give it another position in the other orientation, and without affecting what I've done here. But if I decide that actually there is a typo and I need to adjust here and put a dash, suppose, or let's just add a version number. Of course, if I go to the other orientation, this text is also there. Let's just put it on 2 lines for now. Right. So you can do editing in 2 orientations, and it synchronizes the objects. So for example, I can't have a new line on one orientation and not a new line in the other one. It has to be the same content, but the geometry can be different. Now, what happens if I want to show something on one that I don't want to show in the other one? I can actually go into my property palette here and just switch it off. So for example, I could say that I don't want to see that title in this orientation. It is still visible there, but it's invisible in this one. If I want to make it visible again, I have to go to my layer and switch it on again. So visibility is simply achieved by switching off a layer. So you can always go back and put it back on. So for now, we've seen how to create a document and how to handle dual orientation. What I will do now is I want to add some HTML animation that I have that was created with this product. So I will create a box. It's 800 times 400 pixels. So that's the size of my animation. I have prepared an animation here, HTML animation that was created with Motion Composer, which is another tool that you can get from us and that works great with digital publishing. So if I take the animation in Safari, here I have my animation, and I will now use it in my document. So in order to do that, I switch to the palette and I go to HTML page, and now I will associate some HTML content to this selected box. In a lot of our interactive elements, you often have the choice between getting something from with a URL, that means from the internet, or getting the actual file. And usually this is represented with this entry field, in which you can't type, but you have a little collapsible triangle here. So if I click on this triangle, I can see that I have 2 options: the file option, which is currently selected, and the URL option. So I could put a URL here, and it would actually bring the content of that URL inside that box. What I want to do here, in my case, is actually pick the animation from a file. So I will go into the file, and in this folder called example2, I have my HTML file, which also needs quite a number of things around it, like CSS and stuff. I don't actually have to specify the folder. I simply specify the file, and by convention, we will actually package the whole folder in which this HTML file is contained, so that we keep everything together. So I didn't have to actually do anything more than just specifying the file I want to use, and we will actually copy the whole content. As a matter of fact, as you can see here, the path that we display is already a path where this content has been moved to a secure area where we use it. I can specify some options. As in most of our components, you have some generic options, here my content, I don't want it to be scrollable. That means I don't want to be able to interact with the mouse and make the web page scroll. And that's about it. That's okay. In a lot of components also, especially when we deal with web and with content that can come from the web, there is this concept of alternative image. What do you display if there is no network connection? So there is always the ability to specify something. Okay, so that's done for now. What I will do now is, actually let's take that out, is I will just move to the second page. I will simply copy my background. Okay, and in the second page, I will create a slideshow, because what I have here is I have some screenshots. So I'll add a title. Change the color white, and make it say 30. So I have some screenshots, and in order to use those screenshots, I will actually create a slideshow. So I create a box, and then select the slideshow option here. Select to create a simple slideshow, and you get to a very similar interface than the one we had before in the HTML, except that now I can select some files. So I will just get some files here from screenshots. So I take this one. You can do multiple selections if you want. So I select those 3 files, and it will add them here to the left, as you can see. Now, what you see here is that we have a preview of the image, and we have a rectangle that actually shows, that has the same aspect ratio as the box in my page, and that shows what part of the image will be visible. So you can move that around. You have some shortcuts to make that box fit, or you can do various things here. So what I will do is here I will choose some view. Okay, so this is the part of the image that will be visible inside my slideshow. I can add captions if I want. So let's do that. I will activate captions in both views. So I said this is general the app. Okay, and finish. This is the inspector. See, I'm adding some snapshots, some captions. Here I am. I've done so far the horizontal integration. Let's just look how it works in vertical. So again, I need to move things around a bit. I will change the geometry here of my make it really different. Okay. Now let's go back to the crop rectangles, and there is something very important when you work with two orientations, is that you might want to actually, and you need to actually change the rectangles to make sure that they both look correct in the two orientations. So that's fine. It looks good. I can switch orientation and see that it hasn't affected what I had before. Okay. So let's now save my document and try to generate. In order to generate and to actually see the content that I just created, we will use the project manager, because this is where the actions that belong to the project are located. And at the bottom here, you have a number of actions that are affecting the document. The first one is that we will look at is the publish action. This is where we will actually process the content of your pages and create the output file. We won't save that file or offer you to save it to a custom location. We will simply generate it and save it in a location that we have chosen, and then let you send that file to the test application, the test bench, where you can actually test it. Okay, so while it generates it, it will actually invoke Photoshop in the background to generate images, to crop them, and ensure that you have the highest quality possible for all the content that you put there. So even if you drop very large images, we will make sure that we scale them appropriately depending on the output device. So publishing is complete. How to test it? Well, you need a test application, and we provide one in the form of this app that you can get from the App Store, which is called My Kiosk. When you get the app, it's empty, and there is a button at the top left that lets you enable transfer, which means it makes sure that the app can receive content. So if I put that on the on position, you can see that the app is running its own little web server. So you have a URL for the app. You could actually connect with the web browser. This is another way to pass content to the app, but we can more easily pass content from InDesign directly. So the app is running, transfers are enabled. What I will do now is I will send content by clicking on the Send to My Kiosk button. What it does is it finds all the instances of My Kiosk that are running on my local network. As you can see, there are several people using My Kiosk at the moment, but the first one is usually mine. So this is the one I choose, and it just very quickly sends it to the app. If I go back to My Kiosk, I can see a preview of my content. Okay, so here we are looking at the horizontal version. So I don't have the title. I left it invisible, and I have my animation that's running. If we switch to the vertical position, as you can see, the animation is probably not very well positioned here, and there is a title at the bottom. So here is my my vertical page. I should probably move the animation to the right, and also I see that there is a gap here that I should work on. Okay, as for the second page now, if I go to my second page, I had this screenshots title, and I have my screenshots in the vertical. So if I go to the second page, here I am. I have my screenshots, and they are cropped, and as you can see, there is also a caption at the bottom. And unfortunately, I can't see the full screenshot because I forgot to put them in full screen. So I will do that in the next step. If I turn it, I have my screenshots here again with the other crop rectangle applied to them. Okay, so let's do a second generation after fixing a few issues that we've just noticed. First of all, I will enable full screen on my slideshow. This is the way for me to bring the content in full screen. I will also show page controls. It means that I will have these little dots that show me how many items I have in my slideshow. And I will also use a feature which is the animation, automatic animation between slides. So I will enable the animation. The transition between slides will take 1 second. Everything is expressed in milliseconds here, and the duration of an image is going to be 3 seconds. And the effect between slides, currently we have 2 effects, swipe and fade, is going to be a swipe. Okay? So this is the first thing, the first fix I wanted to make. Then I will go back to my top page. I will move that around. And what I will do is I will add a logo for my app. And on this logo, I will actually okay, so it is. I will move it to the center, and I will add an action to this logo to open the website for Motion Composer. So to do that, it's very simple. We have this concept of actions, and these are really powerful objects that you can use to create interactivity between the various elements of your page. Because here currently the content is fairly static. We have slideshows, we have objects such as these ones, but one of the great ways to add interactivity is to make objects react to gestures or to taps and trigger other things on other objects. So to do that, I will show the concept of action with a button. If I click on the button here, interactivity, it means that now this image with this logo is becoming something on which I can do stuff when I tap on it. And the actions, they all work the same. You basically have an area where you can add actions, and you can have more than one action on the on touch or on swipe, whatever. And just be careful, because you might have some actions that are that can cause conflicts if you do them together. So here, the list of actions, I can change the content index. This is an action that applies to a slideshow, and it would mean that I can manually change the image I want to show from a specific slideshow. Or I can go to the web, go to another page, go to another article, show a pop-up, change the visibility of an object, make something invisible or something else visible, or go full screen. Launch an interactivity, that means launch something, some content. It can be a drawing, pad, or a number of things that we support. You can also play, pause, or stop something that is playing, or that is paused, or that is stopped. For example, a video or a sound. So these actions, they actually take a target, which is a video object or a sound object. Or toggle play means simply, well, toggle, if it's playing, it stops. If it's stopped, it starts playing. So in my case, what I will do simply is go to the web. So I've chosen the action, now I have to create it. So I hit the create button, and you see it adds the action to the to my list. So that's one way to actually go to the web. And if I type an address here, such as HTTP so if I type a URL here, it will open a page with this URL, a full page on a full screen. If I type the external mode, it means simply that it will open Safari. That means it will leave the app and open this URL in Safari. So that's one way to create an action, and I will do that in the vertical way. I will use that thing, but in horizontal, I will hide it and create a new object using the same icon. Now, and I will put it here. Well, let's put it It doesn't matter. Here, instead of opening a full page with my HTML content, I will add a tap action that shows a pop-up. So I will create the pop-up. I have two options here. I will use a full screen pop-up. It means simply that it will obscure the background and it will come in the front. And I hit create to actually specify what comes in my pop-up. As you can see, you can specify a slideshow, an HTML page, or a movie. If you have a movie in a pop-up, I'll specify the HTML page. I can set the size, which I couldn't do before because it would necessarily be full screen. And here I can actually specify, again, using the standard way, either a URL or a file for my HTML content. In my case, I want to go to the Motion Composer website. I can specify whether I can scroll, whether I can interact, and I can also specify what happens if I don't have a network, for example, supply interactive image. Okay, so this is done. Maybe one thing that we would do here is simply to bring back the title and now save the document and go back to my project manager, which I've lost, and regenerate. So remember, you have to save the document and then hit the publish button again to republish the content. So it will usually tell you that what needs to be republished. If you have, for example, several articles, several InDesign documents in the same document, in the same project, sorry, it will let you know what are the ones that need regeneration. So you can progress by creating content, and when you hit the publish button, it won't regenerate the whole thing. It will only regenerate what has changed. As you can see here, sometimes while it generates, it hides and shows some objects. This is normal. It's the way we actually create a preview image for the content, or it's the way we actually isolate content. For example, every piece of text is generated as a PDF. So in order to do that, we have to hide and show objects while it generates. Just wait a few seconds to finish the creation of images. And we should be ready to see the result. While it's generating, I'm just going back to my kiosk. One good thing to watch out for is that when you work on the same document, it will, each time you send it back to my kiosk, it will create a new instance. So you will end up with a lot of images that look the same. Like for a lot of first pages, they will look the same, and you have to make sure that you use the sort by date predicate. Otherwise, if you sort by name, for example, you might not see, you might not know which one is the latest that you've created. Here, by sorting by date, I know that the top left is the last document that was sent to my kiosk. So publishing is complete. I'm now sending to my kiosk. Oops. That's it. Okay. And now it's there. So now I have my horizontal version, which correctly shows the title and the icon. If I click on the icon, I have this pop-up that comes up, and that shows my website. I can entirely interact with the website because I told it to interact with it. If I click outside the pop-up, it hides the, goes back to the main page. As you can see, this is an HTML5 animation that was created with Motion Composer and that was inserted. it is fully functional. That means if I have buttons or things in my animation, it will work entirely. Here my slideshow now is animated because I specified that I wanted to animate it. It still has its caption, but now it also has the sort of indicator of the number of images in the slideshow. And if you remember, we also allowed it to go full screen. So now I can go full screen with my slideshow, and I still have my captions because I decided that I wanted the caption in full screen as well. This is an option that you can set. Click back, and it comes back to the. Now, if I rotate, it's the same thing. It's the same slideshow actually because it has the exact same options. It simply has different crop rectangles, so it shows a different part of the image. Oh, here I have a residual image. Oh yes, I know why. Because when I added the second box in horizontal, I forgot to hide it in vertical. So that's something I will have to work on. And remember, I added an action on this button that would actually show the same web page, but not as a pop-up. So if I click on it, it shows the web page, and I now have a close button, and I have the title of my page, web page, appearing here. So it's a different way to actually show web content. Just to finish, and I will, you see that this button was created in horizontal and is now appearing here. So I need just to hide it by clicking on the visible in this orientation button, and it goes away. So what we've covered so far is really the basics of creating a document, understanding how to work with horizontal and vertical, and how you can actually really speed up your creation process by taking advantage of this feature that we synchronize boxes between horizontal and vertical, and that you change the geometry of those boxes independently. And we also saw how to create something like a slideshow, how to integrate HTML content. What we can just finish with is look at the other types of enrichment that are available. So I create a box here, and I can actually see what are the different objects that I can create. Of course, you could have movies, so it works the same as with slideshows. You have this ability to specify whether the movie is included in the archive by specifying a file that will be embedded in the final output, or by specifying a URL, in which case the movie will stream. You have the ability in that case also to specify an alternative image in case you don't have network. Options for videos, you can have full screen only, autoplay, whether it loops, and also you have this notion of channel. A channel means if I have two objects, such as, for example, two sounds that are on the same channel, they cannot play at the same time. If one starts, it stops the other. This is useful if you have, for example, a page which contains several audio objects that are, for example, podcasts or things like that. You don't want one podcast to play while another one is playing as well. So when you hit the start button, it will stop everything else that plays on the same channel. But sometimes you want to have a background sound and have some other sound effects that play on top of it, in which case simply put them in different channels. It's the same for videos. You can use this exclusion using channels. Here, in the case of a video, you have this concept of action at the finish. So when the video finishes or the audio finishes, you can trigger something. And I mean, the sky is the limit here, because you can imagine all sorts of things that happen when, for example, you end up on a page, an audio starts playing, sort of a welcome message, for example, and then when it's finished, it actually changed the object visibility of, for example, a piece of text or some images and so on. So you can really link sequences of interactivity and apparition, disappearing of images or objects very easily. So that's for the audio and video are roughly working the same. Buttons we've seen. You can you have a picture enrichment that lets you actually specify some interesting functionality when you have very high resolution pictures, and a number of other things. Some functionality is disabled because we are working in a magazine variant. If we would use the AV-doc, AV-PDF variant, then we would be able to do reflow or create smart reading. Okay, it's just disabled. I think we are going to probably stop here and open the some time for questions. I do realize that we've just covered some of the real basics, but it's been a long time since we haven't shown the basics of how the plugin works. If you want to see some of the features of the plugin in action and some of the documents that were done with this, I would encourage you to go back to the website once this webinar is posted on video, because we will put some links of some really cool applications that use our plugin. And because it's Christmas time, well, not very far from it, I would like to show you two things that you can get from the App Store. If you look for Aquafadas, they exist in English as well. There is one called One Gift a Day, and it's an advent calendar that was done entirely using InDesign, and it shows some of the really cool things that will come out very, very soon. As you can see, it's been used by us, so it's not fake, it works. So this is a really interesting application. It's one single document that has interactivity. You can click on the dates and it will open a gift if you're on or after the day, but if you're before that day, it won't. So you have some logics based on dates here, which is new, and then all the gifts are either things that you can already create, such as there are some recipes that contain some interactivity. That's very easy. There are some cool animations that were done with Motion Composer, and there are some other things that are more complex, such as games. Here, for example, you have to find a gift. So it's a sort of Where is Charlie game. Here there's a drawing game. A number of things that will be exposed in a forthcoming version of the plugin. So that's really a nice way to look at it. And there's another app which unfortunately is not free, but that you can have a look at. And this is a children's book that was created entirely using InDesign. So it has a story with a read-along. It has some interesting interactivity inside of it, and all this you will be able to create very, very soon. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll open the time for questions. So take care, keep up the good work, and we'll see you soon on another webinar. Bye-bye.